Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. So today's video was a little bit unplanned, but I wanted to share with you details about my dehydrator, why I use it, why I think it's important that you have one if you're mass producing cookies. So I'm going to show you the brand that I have, the temperature that we use it for, and why we use it. And I figured that it would be a better video if I just got on here to record it and post it for you instead of just like, setting it up. Maybe I'll have a better setup next time, but I want to make sure not to forget. And if I take the time to do that, I'll probably forget what I need to tell you. So let's get to the video. Okay, so first I want to start by kind of giving a run through of why I like to use a dehydrator when I'm decorating like a big amount of cookies. So basically when you're decorating, if you can, I don't know if you can see it here, but the icing is a little bit shiny. That's not great. Some people think that that's great. Oh, my icing is really shiny. It looks really pretty. But the thing about that is when you're trying to layer icing on top, or like, let's say that you're trying to draw eyes or a face using an edible food marker, the bottom is not completely dry, which is why it's shining through the top. So shiny icing is not always a great thing. It just means that your icing on the bottom is still not dry. So the reason why we want to dehydrate these cookies is, for example, let's say that you have a large number of cookies to decorate and you need to move on to the next part. That's where the dehydrator comes in. So what we want to do is we're going to place our cookies here for approximately, I think the lowest amount of time you can do on this one is 30 minutes. I usually do it between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how much time I have. So I'm going to go ahead and load them in. And this is how it looks. It has quite a few layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 layers on where you can actually place your cookies. I feel like this kind of dehydrator is better than the circular ones. I'll insert a picture of what I mean, because with the circular ones, you can't fit as many cookies as you can with this standing version. So I'll put in a picture of what I mean so you can kind of do a comparison. Okay, so another thing before we move on is, like, for example, let's say that you outlined and flooded your tray of cookies, and in the moving in between, like, let's say you want to move this tray to another part of your kitchen, to a different table, what can happen, and what has happened to me before, it probably happened to some of the cookies that I have here today, so if it did, I'll show you. But from all the moving, even though the cookie seems to be dry at the top, with all the moving, there's possibility of cracking. So when you're setting the tray down at an angle or picking it up or making the shifting movements, you might have a few cracks in your cookies if they're not completely dry. So the ideal thing is to outline, flood them, and then transfer them immediately into your dehydrator. So I'm going to transfer them, and once they're all transferred in here, I'll show you the setting that I used and how long I'm going to leave them in there for. So another thing before we continue, and I'm probably going to be doing a lot of these cuts in between because I'm remembering things as I'm going, and I feel like it's a little bit more informational for you to watch a video like this versus when I set it up and have talking points. Eventually we'll get there. I used to have a setup, but anyway, I digress. The reason why we came back is to show you. So you'll see that some of my racks have a piece of parchment paper on them or a piece of non-stick, like a little non-stick mat that fits perfectly in here. I think I got these at H-E-B. But basically the purpose of these is that, for example, once you place your cookies in here, and they're dehydrating, I don't dehydrate them for a long time, but if you're having them in here for a very long time, basically what happens is that the air will circulate obviously through the top and the bottom to dry them out. And some people feel like the cookies dry out, so when you bite them, they're a little bit harder to the touch if they don't have this bottom protection. So if you wanted to, you could line all your rows or your, I don't know, like your trays, I guess, with parchment paper or non-stick baking sheets that fit this specific or whatever dehydrator you're using, just to conserve your cookie a little bit more. I don't leave mine in here for a long time, so I don't feel like it's necessary all the time. But if you're in a hurry and you're trying to dry, because so what I'm doing is my cookie has been sitting overnight in a tray, a covered tray. But basically what I'm trying to do now is just dry it enough so that I can apply pressure with an edible marker. So that's what I'm trying to do. But let's say that you just recently like outlined them and flooded them and they're completely wet, then you would probably leave them in here for a longer time, maybe about, I don't know, an hour to 2 hours, so that you can move on to your next step without it causing any dipping, cracking, or color transfer from one color to the other when you're layering. So that's the purpose for the parchment paper. And I basically like took 2 minutes to tell you all that, but I hope this is informational for you when you watch it. Anyway, let me keep loading so I can show you the settings. So with this tray, it's actually a little bit wetter or not as dry as the moon cookies that you saw, because I flooded these last night. So these, you want to be very careful when you're putting in cookies that are recently flooded into your dehydrator, whether it's circular or rectangular, because as you can see, you can fit a lot of cookies in this tray. Since these were a little bit dry, it didn't matter as much, but the corners, it has like little like hinges on the corners. So just make sure that if you're putting in cookies that are recently flooded or too wet, basically, that you're not putting them all the way to the edge, because when you slide in your cookie, let me find my finger. When you slide in your cookie and if you put it on this edge, it's going to take some of the icing off. So just be careful with that. Okay, so here are my cookies loaded. I believe these are 68 cookies. You definitely have room for more. So I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the racks. I mean, this one doesn't count as 6 because there's like 3 cookies in there. But you definitely have a lot of room for more cookies. And like I said, if you're mass producing cookies for like companies or like you're making big orders, definitely think that this is a great dehydrator for that. So let's go ahead and turn it on. It's plugged in and you're going to turn it on. And of course cover it before you turn it on. Let me place the cover. I'm going to place the cover in there, so that's how it looks when it's covered. We're going to temperature, and we're going to do it at the lowest setting, which is 95 degrees for this one. There's some that don't go this low, but that's why I like this one. So then we're going to timer, and the lowest amount of time that you can do on here, I believe, is 30 minutes, but I'm going to set it for 1 hour just to make sure that I take advantage of the fact that I loaded all the cookies that I'm decorating. So I went ahead and put it for an hour. I'm going to do a few other things around the house while this is ready. But yeah, that's how it works basically. And I definitely, if you're on the fence about getting a dehydrator, I believe that it's a big investment for someone that's producing cookies like every day or every week. If you're having to make cookies, this is definitely going to speed up your process. It's going to help you a lot. It's definitely a game changer. I don't make as many cookies as I used to, but when I was in my prime, or in the era where I made tons of cookies for orders and for shipping, once upon a time I used to ship cookies on Etsy. This was definitely a great tool to have, and it was one of my must-haves. So definitely recommend it. Hopefully I can still link it in my description, or if not, just visit my Amazon storefront and you'll see it on there. But this is the brand. And again, if you need to just kind of like look back at the details, you can always rewind, look back at the setting that we used for the lowest temperature was 95 degrees for an hour, and there's 68 cookies in here. So I hope that you guys found this video useful. Like I said, maybe in the future I'll have an actual setup. I just haven't figured it out in my kitchen yet. But I hope you find the information on here useful. I'll put some of it in my description, and I'll try to transfer it to my website so that you can like look at all the details and find something written versus just listening to me. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment, share it with a friend, and also follow me on all my social media. TikTok, I'm on, I believe it's X or Threads. No, I'm not on X anymore. I'm on Threads, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.